Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? Giant elephant in the room, obviously, is the Saints' performance against Carolina this past Sunday. Look, you played for Sean Payton. It was by far statistically the worst offensive output of Sean Payton's time in New Orleans. You're watching that game on Sunday. What are you thinking watching it unfold?
Well, we had to temper our expectations after week one. It's hard to go from destroying the Packers and then expecting the same performance a week later. It's early in the season. We're still trying to figure out who's good, who does what good, offensively, defensively. So I was surprised at just how much we struggled on offense. But listen, if anybody watched the pregame show on CST, we talked a lot about the Saints offensive coaching staff and just how big a deal that was, missing coaches. That's a lot of eyeballs watching the field, relaying messages to the play callers, relaying messages to the offensive guys. And the performance you got was indicative of missing almost your entire offensive coaching staff.
Sean, Scott, was the bigger deal for Sean and the staff not having the coaches on game day or the preparation during the week?
Now, the preparation during the week is huge, but I have a lot of faith in Coach Payton to do what he's done for a number of years, even going all the way back to the Giants and the Cowboys. He knows what plan he wants to put in place. These guys are pros. They only keep guys on a team that are pros. And I don't know if the week of preparation was as big a deal as game day. Because as that game unfolded, there were a lot of things offensively that probably changed. They probably didn't expect to get down to Carolina. They probably didn't expect to have to throw the ball to get back in the game. They were hoping, much like the Packers game, they could run, get ahead of the chains, play good defense. And I think it was more game day missing those guys and those voices and eyes on the defenders than during the week.
Scott Shanle is our guest. Of course, you can catch him on Saints Game Day on CST every time the Saints play. I want to ask you about some of the defensive issues that we might have seen on Sunday. Obviously, no Kwon Alexander. When you don't have Kwon on the field, how does that, in particular, obviously Carolina, then ahead with this game against New England, how does not having Kwon in that linebacker room impact this team?
Well, his energy is the main thing. I mean, he is a good athlete. He plays good in space. And when he's on the field, you can feel that energetic just vibe to the defense. DeMario and him play well together. That's another big thing. Linebackers, much like quarterbacks and receivers, develop chemistry. They develop timing. They understand how to fit off of one another in the running game. So when you miss guys who have played a lot of football and you've developed chemistry together, it's not easy to replace it in 1 week.
So what was your opinion of the job Zach Bond did and maybe what progress he's made year to year?
I think Zach is in a tough spot really because of what his strengths are. I think Zach is more of a Sam linebacker up on the line in an under 4-3 defense or even a 3-4 outside backer. In this defense, he's not going to be allowed to rush the passer as much as maybe he did at Wisconsin and what maybe his strengths are. Nobody will confuse Zach Bond with being a coverage linebacker, being DeMario or Kwon in space. That's not his strength. But he's being asked to do some things based on the lack of depth at linebacker right now, the need for him to be on the field. We haven't seen Warner yet. He's been banged up since he's really gotten into New Orleans. So I think Zach's doing good against all the odds based on what his strengths are and what they're asking him to do right now.
Scott Shanle is our guest on Twitter at Scott Shanle. I want to ask you a question, Scott, about the Saints offense, but I want to ask it through the lens of if you were playing linebacker against this team. In particular with Eric McCoy out, and there's been a lot made, obviously, of McCoy being the guy that made all the calls, and then he's not there, so now it's Ruiz. You're a linebacker facing that this week. In what ways are you challenging, or your defense challenging that offensive line and that quarterback?
First of all, I'm bringing the house. Anytime you don't have a center and you're on your first year without Drew Brees, which Drew set the protections. Drew would tell the line which way to block. I know when Unger was there, he had a hand in that. He was a smart center. But The protection part of offensive football is huge. And there was definite confusion last week with the Saints O-line. I don't know if it was Jameis where he was setting the protection or if it was the fact we had a new center playing without much experience compared to McCoy. But I would line up. I would bring the house. I would give multiple different looks so that they don't know where to slide the protection to. It's exactly what Carolina did. Carolina's defense flew around. They're much faster than I thought they would be. They've done a good job building that defense. But, I saw a stat where Jameis was blitzed on 65% of his snaps last week against Carolina. That's the third highest percentage since 2009. I mean, if you don't fix it, you're going to get it every week. You're going to get blitzes.
Is New England capable of replicating what Carolina did so well?
Oh, absolutely. If in fact, I would say I'm more worried this week about the blitz. I'm not as worried about the New England offense as I am Carolina's, but I would be more worried about the exotic looks you're going to get, all the different things, personnel packages on defense. And Belichick, he's going to dial up some stuff now that you've probably never seen. So you have to be ready to keep the game plan simple and know who you're protecting and when. Does
Ruiz and Throckmorton having that game week together, is it realistic to think, Scott, that they can improve week to week, or how much can they improve week to week in either such a short amount of time, or is that by comparison enough time to get up to speed?
Absolutely. Nothing compares to game reps. You can practice all the looks you want. In practice, you're going 3/4 speed most of the time. You're trying to keep each other safe. And until you get into that game and you see some stuff you haven't seen and you don't really have a base foundation for rules of what your protections are, it's hard. Those guys just haven't, Throckmorton, he hasn't played enough football. And a lot of times to learn in this league, you have to make a mistake and get it corrected, and then that's how you advance. And they certainly had plenty of mistakes to learn from last week.
Saints game day, 10:30 this Sunday before the noon kickoff up in New England. Scott Shanley's part of that show. He's on Twitter at Scott Shanle. Good enough to spend just a couple more minutes with us here. You did mention that you're not as concerned about the Patriots' offense this week. Now, obviously, part of that, Scott's got to be that you're going up against a rookie quarterback. So maybe would have been in your study, your early impressions of Mac Jones through 2 weeks, and what's the best way for the Saints to maybe try to attack or confuse him this week?
Well, you have to give him different looks. And what we've seen so far this year, in the first game against the Packers, the Saints run the ball effectively. They get a lead. Now they can just pin their ears back on defense and bring the house because Green Bay has to throw. Well, the vice versa, that happened to us last week. We got down. Carolina could pin their ears back. So you're going to see that theme with this Saints team all year. If you can't run the ball and give 41 the ball, 25-plus touches a game, and you're in a catch-up match, that's going to be the theme. You're going to have to be able to protect the passer. So I look for Dennis Allen to get after Mac Jones. But again, the caveat to that is you can't let New England run the ball on you. You can't give up 4 yards a pop and let him sit back there and play action pass you. If you do that, now you can get exotic. You can bring different packages from different places and put the pressure on that young quarterback instead of having the pressure on our quarterback.
Scott, let me ask you a dumb question. How much better can this offense be with Michael Thomas?
Oh, my gosh, it is. I have a lot of respect for these guys, these undrafted free agents who have stepped up. They've all taken their turns stepping up over the past year, 2 years, and I have a lot of respect for these guys. But when you don't have a Michael Thomas on the field, when you don't have 1-3 out there and a defensive coordinator circling him in personnel meetings saying, we got to find a way to stop this guy. We're going to double. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Right now, defenses don't have to do that, and it changes everything when you don't have that elite player on the outside.
Week 7 can't get here soon enough. But before they do, Scott, my contention has been all offseason when I look at the schedule. If this and you could probably speak to this now, maybe as a player you wouldn't have gone to this detail, but if they could be at 3-2, if they could be above 500 going into their bye in week 6, getting the guys they're going to get back and the way the schedule shapes up, I think they got a great chance to finish above 500 and be a playoff team. So with that sort of as a thought, how a 17-game season, how important is this week in New England for mathematical reasons or for just purging what happened last week in Carolina?
Yeah, I think it's vital, more so because of what happened in Carolina. 2 weeks ago, everybody told you were going to win the Super Bowl based on your performance. Last week, everybody said, we have Jameis that we saw in Tampa. The defense didn't play as well. I guess our early season prediction of 500 for the Saints team is correct. So that's where everybody's sitting nationally.
Right.
It's how you bounce back. It's the performance you put on this week. But to your point, that's a great point. This schedule early on shapes up for the challenges you've faced. Hurricane evacuation, training at TCU, COVID with the coaching staff. You've faced your adversity early in the season, but if there's a time to do it, it's with this schedule. Because after New England, you got the Washington football team, you got the Giants, you hit into the break, all very winnable football games, and it's vital you win these games you're supposed to win.
He is Scott Shanle. Saints game day on CST, of course, 10:30 this Sunday before the Saints head up to New England and take on the Patriots in Foxborough. We'll see how they bounce back. Scott, it's always a pleasure, man. We appreciate a couple of minutes of your time. Be well, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Take care.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.